It's your boy Nicholas Engelbrecht, and we are back at the Boys to Men podcast. I am your host, and welcome to episode 4. It's been quite a while that I haven't uploaded a video, it's been over a month, and I have to come clean, I have to be honest, and I can sit here and make so many excuses as to why I wasn't consistent in my content. I share a room with someone. It was raining, so I couldn't record outside. I'm studying. So I can name a list of excuses, but I'm here to just be accountable and to own up to my actions because I truly believe we choose what we do every single day and prioritize things um, ahead of other stuff. So I sometimes in this month that I haven't made any videos, I felt like a hypocrite, to be honest. I felt as if, because I would tell you guys on the previous 3 episodes, I would say, okay, gentlemen, go out there, be great, pursue your goals, be disciplined, work hard on your craft, um, put yourself first, invest in yourself. Remember your actions, they compound. Every habit compounds. But then on the other side, behind the camera, when the camera is off, I would still linger in my bad habits. Sleeping in, snoozing the alarm whenever I said I was gonna get up early to go for a jog, whatever the case may be. So I did feel like a hypocrite because I'm not doing what I tell my followers or viewers to do. So this afternoon I'm owning up to my actions and I'm actually turning a new page in my life by being disciplined. I see it in a point of view that I can't lead if I still need to be led as well at times. So it did feel some way that I was like, why am I still doing this podcast, man? I still need a big brother to still guide me. I need someone to at times hold my hand and to keep me accountable, you know. And but then I realized, no, man, this is part of the community. It's part of the journey. It's part of why I made this podcast so we can have this honest conversations and that we can be vulnerable in a sense to say that, listen here, I'm Nicholas. I struggle with being disciplined at times. At times, I have lapses of motivation and determination. And there are times where I'm procrastinating and I'm lazy. And then you will find people that will be in your circle to help build you and to help become a better man. And that is why we are in this process. And there's no shame in admitting it. I appreciate the love that I have received from my followers. Some would reach out and ask, when's the next episode dropping? We waiting to hear what you're gonna say in the next episode, or where have you been? You're very quiet. I haven't seen you. I haven't seen a reel pop up again of Boys to Men. So I appreciate those people that really checked in on me, and yeah. But here we are, back today, another episode 4 of the podcast. We are in the 4th month of the new year, and if we reflect on the past year, that's in this year, many things happened in our individual lives. For me, I'm finishing my first semester at college, and I'll be going back home for a month. So it's been a lot actually, studying and still finding a balance outside of the classroom. But through it all, God remains faithful. And yeah, without further ado, let's hop into episode 4. Last month, I had some time just to reflect and think about the podcast. So the podcast title is Boys to Men. So basically, to transition from being a boy into becoming a man. And then I asked myself, okay, Nicholas, so in your opinion, what do you think it means to be a man? And I sat down and I was pondering on that question. What does it mean to be a man? And during my time of reflection and thinking about that question, I concluded to a point to say that There's no manual or textbook that we as young men can read to guide us on how to be a man. You know, there's no book that says by the age of 23 you have to be doing A, B, and C. There's no textbook to say when you're 18 you have to have these traits as a man. You know, we learn these things through experience by going through life and facing some challenges here and there, and that at the end of the day molds us to becoming the person that we are today. I also came to the conclusion that um, sometimes we model and we mimic what we see in our lives. So at times, for example, in my life, I would mimic how my dad lived his life, what I've seen from my dad, and then I would try to emulate that and use his life as a template on how I live my life. So in my dad's, so I would say, okay, he's a man of God, he's romantic, he's disciplined in his actions, and I would then see what he does, and I would also try to follow that same footsteps that he lays out for me, because he would teach me as his son, and then I would follow what he teaches me. But then at times there are families or households that won't always be present in that house. There might be a dad there, but is a dad present? Does he teach or guide his children or his sons? Not always. And there are times where sometimes the father he left the household, or he divorced his wife, or in some cases where the dad passed away. And then that leaves a gap in the void for that young boy to grow up without having that fatherly figure within the house. And I've seen personal examples of the effects of not having a present father within someone's life, how it can affect not only the boy or the guy, but also the female. Not having a fatherly figure in her life, how it affects her. And I will still cover that aspect later on in the podcast, in the other episodes to follow, the role of a dad. But for today, we're talking about just the aspect of being a man. And so I concluded that firstly, there's no template or there's no guideline on how to be a man and how to live your life as a man. We normally experience that through our own life choices by going through life and experiencing life for ourselves. And then we also emulate, or we copy what we see in our lives. So we would emulate maybe uncles or grandpas or father figures, and then we would try and sometimes follow their path because they will teach us their ways. But then not all people have that positive role model influence. So what about them then? What kind of man will they become if they never had that positive manly guidance, you know? So again, I ask you viewers, in your opinion, when you think of the word man, what comes to your mind? Or in your opinion, what do you think it means to be a man? Society has their own definition on what it means to be a man. We see it on so many Netflix series or movies, and you would see this main character man and how he portrays in the movie, and we watch these things and we see this as the ideal image of what a man should be, or what he should look like. But normally they portray something that is so false, that is so far from the truth, in my opinion. And that character in the movie is not close to our reality that we as men face, or we as young men face. They would portray a man that is so successful, money and all these kind of things. And yes, we all want that, we all attain to have that. But it's not to say that if you don't have that in place, the money, the status, driving the fancy car, you have all the girls that are all over you and they want you and you can sleep with anyone in the world. That lifestyle of clubbing, partying, sleeping around, that image that Netflix shows for us, that fake image of a man, it is far from the truth in our reality. So I want you to not look at that and use that as an example on what a man should be like. I remember when I was maybe on high school and I used to watch Peaky Blinders, and we all know Tommy Shelby, and that was for me like I said, okay, one day I'm gonna be like Tommy Shelby, just very nonchalant. I wouldn't even say a word. I would be very I would just be like how Thomas Shelby was or Conor McGregor. Those are people that I look up to. But it's false in my opinion. As I mentioned, I see you have to have traits in place to be a man. So I want to ask you today, young man. I don't know where you find yourself, in what age bracket or whatever the case, but what kind of man do you want to be one day? Or I know in my personal life, you know, I want to marry young. I'm currently 23 years old. I always had a goal for myself to be married at the age of 25, you know. And so which means I'm left with 2 years to really work on myself because I want to be a man that my wife can be proud of, you know. A man of discipline, a man that has self-respect, that values other people, a man that is accountable. I would say this act of me, you know, owning up to my actions instead of making excuses of why I didn't record the podcast episode or whatever the case. Those are small traits of becoming a man. And I can tell you now for free that your process and your progress in becoming a man and transitioning from being a boy to becoming the man that you want for yourself, it won't be linear. It won't be linear. You know, there will be times where you have lapses of motivation. I saw this post that says that success doesn't look like a straight upgoing line. Success through consistency looks something like you go up, you go through a plateau, you go down for a bit, but then you find your way, you start gaining small marginal wins, you build up, and there will be maybe life challenges. It will maybe just take you through a slump for a bit, but you still keep on going, you keep going forward and towards the man that you want to be. So whether you find yourself in a similar shoes that I was, where you had your lapses of motivation or you became undisciplined for some reason, don't be hard on yourself. You know, turn the page, start again on a new day, and then you get back to where you want to be. Sometimes we look at age as a way to determine you are a man now. I remember when I turned 18, I thought, okay, it's manlyhood now. I'm a big boy. And when I turned 19, I left the house for 2 years, and but I was still very much immature. I was still very much a boy, but in today's world, we see 18 or 21 as the age of you becoming a man. But that's not really true, you know. I've seen grown men that are 40 years old that still behave like they're 21 years old. So you can't actually put age to say, okay, because you are a certain age, you are now a man. I know in the black culture they would go for initiation, and that will signify the becoming of a man or in daughter, as they would say. But for in my opinion, I don't know if you guys will agree with me or what. In my opinion, that doesn't make you a man because you this age now you're a man. I don't think so. I would basically put traits next to the bracket of becoming a man. What kind of traits? Accountability, honesty, integrity, discipline, hard work. These are all traits that I would align with to say, okay, if you are a man, you would be doing, you would have these traits in place, and not per se to a certain age. As I said, I've seen young men though that are 20 years old that is more of a man than 35-year-old men. So I want to just debunk the the myth or the saying that when you are a certain age that makes you a man. I won't necessarily say so, because manhood is more than just age. We it's not about getting older. It's more about maturity, responsibility, and your character that defines a man. So I'm going to make an example just to show you what I mean. So there are two 25-year-old males. The first male, his name is Kyle, and the second 25-year-old male, his name is Nicholas. So Kyle, they're in the same class or in the same workspace. They're colleagues, but Kyle is more disciplined. Kyle sets goals for himself. Kyle, he sticks to his goals. At times he's not perfect. At times he falls and he becomes lazy, but Kyle still remembers where he needs to be, what he needs to do, and he finds his way back on the path that he wants for himself. Kyle, he's disciplined in his actions. He has respect for women, for himself. He's accountable. He he can be vulnerable at times. And then you get Nicholas on the other hand, who is also 25 years old, who works with Kyle. They're in the same class or whatever the case. But on the other hand, Nicholas then he's always making excuses for his actions. He always blames it on someone else. He will never take up his hand and say, okay, I'm at fault, or I done this, but he will find a way to put the blame and to point a finger at the next person. Nicholas, he will set goals for himself, but he will just leave it at that. He won't make an effort to work on himself or to work on his goals. Mind you, they are both 25-year-olds, but you can see that the mindset separates being a boy from being a man. And in that case, we would say that Kyle is more of a man than what Nicholas is. Even though they are the same age, but it comes down to character and it comes down to your mindset. So I want to ask you, in your opinion, what character traits do you think makes a man? It can be anything that you would think, okay, if I am a man, I would think a man should have these things in place, these character traits. I have a few of them here. Um, Here it says leadership, it says growth and self-improvement. As I mentioned in my example with Carl and Nicholas, a man is someone that will continuously work on himself, continuously find ways to improve himself, not only for his personal benefit, but also for the benefit of his wife and his children. Where as a boy, he just goes with the flow of life. He drifts through school, he drifts through college, he's out drinking, partying, wasting his youth instead of building himself up for the future. I'm reading a lot about investment and how investments grow and things. And the smallest contribution towards an investment fund, it grows. Likewise with our actions on a daily basis. Every single action that we do, it compounds. And you become that investment, you become that daily action. I would really encourage you guys to read the book Atomic Habits. I've been reading it for the past few days, and I've learned so much just in a short space of time. And it comes down to being a man, because we are constantly trying to evolve and to grow and to improve. So I would really encourage you guys to go and read Atomic Habits. You will learn so much about your life, and you would reflect and to just look at your life through a microscope to see how a small, atomic means small, how a small habit can really define and really change your life. What do you guys think? Do you think it was easier being a man back in the 1900s compared to today's modern age? Because I know in the 1900s, financially, let's say financially, because In the 1900s, if you had 1,000 rand, or let's say 10,000 rand, you can literally pay off your house. You can buy you a brand new vehicle. You can have groceries for the whole year. You can literally send your kids to school with that 10,000 rand straight up. Whereas now, 1,000 rand is like 100 rand. The petrol is going up, but the wages are still remaining the same. And back in the 1900s, the man of the house, he had to go out and work for his family. He was the breadwinner, the sole provider for the family, and the wife would normally stay at home to look after the children, to make sure that they are fed, that the clothing is washed and hanged up, that the house is cleaned, and all those kind of gender roles. But today it's a lot different. Today we see the roles even being reversed at times, where the wife is the breadwinner, and the husband maybe is unemployed or for whatever reason. And I know as men that can really bruise our egos and really affect us mentally if our partner or wife earns more than us. And it can really damage us because you will feel less of a man if you aren't providing for your family, you aren't providing for your children, and they look up to you. Daddy, what you gonna do? And it can pay a lot on someone's mental health. But I don't want you to feel like that. You know, I know in our economy, society, it's very difficult to to make ends meet. You can have a job, but you living from salary to salary, from paycheck to paycheck, and it's difficult for many of the households, whether both parents are working or maybe just the husband or the wife is working. But if you are a man watching this, and you feel less of a man because of your income, or because you're unemployed and now your partner earns more than you and is now the provider of the house, my man, don't feel like that at all. Because that is, I would say, that is a boy mentality. A man mentality, despite being at home, being unemployed, a man still gets up and goes out to look for work. A man won't sit on the couch playing video games and just standing with his arms outstretched for his wife to feed him. But in my view, a man will get up, look for work, find ways in which to support his family, despite things being really bad at home. And I say that not with the slightest without being insensitive, but I say it really because I think that is what separates a man from a boy. And I don't want people to feel less of something because of financial situations or whatever the case. But as a man, still strive to be where you want to be. Don't take your situation or your background and to say, okay, this is now what is given to me. I'm gonna just live with this and go on with my life. No, you are in full control of your life. Everything that you decide, you have a choice to do it. So you're either choosing something or you're changing something. They say that things you don't choose to change, you are choosing and accepting. So you can still go out and change whatever picture has been drawn already. You can change that picture by going out and being so intentional with your life. Every single habit that you do, every single action you do, it's very intentional to get to where you want to be, and not just accepting the course that life has given you. I'm sure we all heard the saying, real men don't cry, or real men don't show vulnerability. um, yeah, and that is engraved in our minds as men. We will never be vulnerable to anyone. You will talk to your brothers. You can vent to your brothers and to your close circle friends, but we never tend to show emotion. So would you guys think that, or say, a boy cries and a man doesn't cry? Or what do you guys think about that? Because I don't know. My dad, he never cries, or he would fight his tears. And I saw that, and I also done the same. Like I would be super emotional. At my grandma's funeral, I was still in primary school. I was in grade 6. But because my dad, I never he cried, he would try to like hide his tears or fight his tears. I would do the same. And then literally I would bite the inside of my cheek to not cry. I would pinch myself to not cry. Mind you, I'm only in grade 6. So I was 12 years old, but I already had that image of, okay, real men don't cry. Real men aren't vulnerable. But long term, that has so much damaging effects on mental health. But people don't actually realize it. If you bottle things up and if you suppress your feelings and you don't mourn, or you aren't vulnerable to say, that all clouds up and it's like a cancer. It can really make you almost depressed in a way. But I do want to say, I'm not advocating you guys to just be cry babies or whatever the case. I'm saying that I'm debunking the myth to say that society plays to say real men don't cry. Men can be vulnerable with each other, with their partner, um, and I think that's a sign of maturity, in my opinion. That shows that you have emotional intelligence. You aren't cold-hearted. You're a human being. As much as we distinguish between male and female emotions, we are all human beings, and we experience emotions. We experience heartache. We experience loss. We mourn. And so, why is it that people say you shouldn't cry, you shouldn't show signs of vulnerability, or whatever the case? Because you still feel, if I cut you, you're gonna pain, you're gonna bleed. Likewise, another person. So society often tells men don't cry or don't be tough, but strength really lies in being able to express emotions in a healthy way, you know. And we see the stats of how much suicide is committed by men because they don't speak up, or they feel like as if they speak up, it will all be used up against them, and they'll be ridiculed and be seen less as a man. But it's false, it's really false. So I want to encourage you, if you are bottling things up, I always made my platform available for young men to reach out to me and to speak to me about certain things. And I really do appreciate it. Recently I had someone reach out to me about something that he battled with. And what was so crazy is I went through that exact same thing. So I could really give that young man advice um, of what helped me and how he can apply that same advice into his personal life. So, if you feel like you don't know who to share your personal battles with, you can feel free to send me a DM on Instagram, or on my Instagram, on TikTok, sorry, at the Boys to Men podcast account, and I will respond. You can be anonymous or whatever the case may be, but um, do not bottle things up. Do not take your life even because things become too much for you to handle. Because hiding emotions can really hurt me, can really like harm you in the long run. I really want us as men to be so self-aware, so self-conscious about our lives and like where we find ourselves. Because I want us to be the men that we envision for ourselves. So I have some homework for you guys, and I will also do the same thing. Write down what kind of man you want to be. Ask yourself, okay, if I have these traits in place, firstly look at your own life and ask yourself, am I am I honest? Do I have respect for not only myself, my girlfriend, my wife, for other people? Am I accountable? Am I disciplined? Ask yourself all these personal questions, and then you weigh yourself up on a scale to see where you find yourself. Are you in the middle? Are you lingering at the bottom, or are you peaking, you know? And if you are peaking, I'm rooting for you. I really want you to keep on evolving and improving on yourself. So just remember that we are continually trying to improve ourselves on a daily basis. Don't be hard on yourself as a man, you know. Be kind to yourself. You are also learning through life. You know, nobody lived life already to know what is to come in your own life. You going through life, you are learning these things on your own. So really, be proud of yourself, man. Tell yourself, no, okay, we will get to where we want to be. You know, be accountable with your actions. If you see yourself going through a slump or hitting that plateau, reevaluate your thinking, change your ways, change your habits, and really be intentional with your life. I'm committing to myself, you know, because I love myself, so I need to do these things for myself, and I really want you guys to follow suit in your own lives. You know, do it for yourself, make yourself proud at the end of the day, and remember, it is never a linear process. There will be times where we will go through challenges in life. It's a given, but it's how you find a way to get out of that. That will separate you from staying a boy to becoming a man. This is Boys to Men, a podcast. We just ain't grow up boys for today, but men for tomorrow. See you next time.